If you've been watching this channel, you know I can't put down a good artifact deck. Here, let's try out some new cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, Poetic Ingenuity, and Akal Pakal. Okay, welcome back, vintage gamers. I am going to show you a brand new brew with some new cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, and you might be surprised that I think these are vintage playable. We'll start with Poetic Ingenuity, a 2 and a red enchantment. Whenever one or more dinosaurs you control attack, create that many treasure tokens. But Justin, there are no dinosaurs in your list. Aha, read the second part. Whenever you cast an artifact spell, create a red 3/1 dinosaur token, only once per turn. So, I actually think this card has some vintage viability in the fact that it is a 3 mana card and only 1 red pip, so it costs 2 colorless, so you can use your Moxen to play it well, and it synergizes really well with cards like Moxen, cards like Emery that are playing an artifact every turn, and I think a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token that makes some treasures on its own is actually pretty reasonably statted. Obviously, a 3/1 has some Bowmaster problems, but I think Bowmasters are fading away from the field a little bit. As people swap over to the blue-white version of the deck, and a 3/1 is a pretty reasonably sized body. I'm going to try another card here, Akal Pakal, first among equals. It is a human advisor, a 1/5 for another, again, 2 colorless and 1 blue, so a good casting cost. At the beginning of each player's end step, if an artifact entered the battlefield under my control this turn, look at the top 2 cards, 1 in the hand, 1 in the graveyard. Works extremely well with Emery, as it's putting cards into the yard. So this is a little bit of a card draw, per se, engine, where you're not drawing cards, but you're looking at the top 2 and you're putting 1 in your hand, 1 in the graveyard. You can use both pieces of that with Emery in this deck. And then you actually have some ways to do it on each player's turn, too. So you have Urza's Saga, which you can tap and make a construct, which will trigger this. And you also, I'm going to put in a Retrofitter Foundry here, where we can make a construct, a servo token on an opponent's turn to trigger this as well. It's a little unfortunate that Poetic Ingenuity is only on cast and not on artifacts entering the battlefield, but I feel like it'd probably be a little bit too strong, actually, if it was on artifacts entering the battlefield. I did consider trying to make it so I could cast an artifact spell on my opponent's turn. There are some ways to do that that are better than others. There are things like Liberator, Urzur's Battlethopter, Shimmer Mirror. There's the Rasp Captain guy, Capuchin, Ship's Mage, which makes historic spells you control have flash, which actually would be pretty cool because you could flash in Emery's and Akal Pakals, and that'd be pretty sweet. But in general, the cards that give things flash are pretty underpowered, and I think not worth the slot, which is a little unfortunate because I was thinking about doing some fun things like that. But I think this should be good enough on its own, but we're going to have to try and see if that hunch is correct. I've, of course, paired this card with Saheeli, nice little flavor win. This is whenever a non-creature spell is cast, you get a 1/1 servo artifact creature token, and you can turn artifacts into copies of other artifacts and creatures. So it actually pairs pretty well with Poetic Ingenuity, where you can turn your treasures into more dinosaurs. It obviously works really well with Time Vault, where you can turn your treasures into Time Vaults, and that way you can actually use this as a double time walk. Pretty strong interaction. And of course, simply turning your treasures into construct tokens can be extremely big game. I only put 1 in here just because blue is historically a little bit hard to cast in these Thought Monitor 8 cast shells, but we'll see how we can do. The rest of this deck is a straightforward 8 cast shell. It's a very traditional 8 cast shell with 3 Emery, 2 Urza, 3 Bobble. I need to make some room to fit 3 Bobbles in. And then sideboard just has anti-graveyard hate, anti-creature hate. I didn't put 4 Furies because I don't actually have enough red cards. I actually just don't have enough red cards at all for Furies, so I'm going to change that as we sit here. I will just put in 2 Rending Volleys and 2 Dismembers just for Collector Oof. That's probably makes more sense. It might even be better just have like a pile of Dismembers, really. But we'll play some Rending Volleys because I do enjoy killing a good white creature. So yeah, anti-graveyard, a Shadow Spear. I actually think Shadow Spear looks really strong in this deck. We'll be able to search it up, put it on dinosaurs, etc. Some anti-artifacts, some anti-combo. Basically your normal vintage sideboard things. So I'm actually pretty excited. I think these cards are two of the more interesting cards from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, the non-commander versions. And I'm interested to see them in this game. Hopefully we can kill some people with some dinosaurs. See you in round one. Are you interested in weekly vintage metagame recommendations? Do you want to see your deck list played on my channel? Or maybe you are just looking for the best way to support my vintage content? Make sure you check out the Patreon link in the description below. Let's battle. All right, let's hop right in here. Round one with our Lost Caverns of Ixalan brew. I'm excited to try out these new cards. Hopefully we can get some nice dino kills, accumulate some sweet value. This hand is a little mana light, but it does have Ancestral, so maybe we can fix that. We should be mindful of our sequencing as Akal just looks at the end step and sees if we played an artifact. So actually, Akal is very good on playing like a turn one. If you go like Mox Akal, then you will get a value back at end step. Whereas Poetic Ingenuity, you need it to be in play before you cast an artifact spell. So you need to cast it and then have something else afterwards. So there's a lot of value in doing things like holding back Moxen so that we have the ability to trigger. Just like Storm, kind of. All right, Ancestral target me. Resolvers, not the greatest. We were really looking for some Moxen here. Strip Mine, that's good. We have a Saga going. Definitely okay. It always feels bad to do a Strip Mine after your opponent resolves an Ancestral. Oh, they have a Black Lotus, so it doesn't feel that bad. My opponent is on Lurrus, so probably a controlling deck. We drew our own Black Lotus. That's exciting. Let's play our Saga. Let's play our Black Lotus. And then we will play Poetic Ingenuity. Let's see for a second here. If I were to play Akal Pakal, I could instead... No. I can have 2 artifacts in play, so Thoughtcast will cost 3. I think I'd rather try to make a dino. So let's just do Poetic Ingenuity here and see if we can't tempo. Honestly, if this card resolves against our Lurrus opponent, they're going to have a very hard time, right? Simply having a dinosaur every turn is going to be pretty impossible for them to combat, especially if they're blue-black. So my opponent probably has to counter this if they can. If they can, we're actually in pretty rough shot. But here we go. Here's a Mox Opal. We're going to get a dinosaur. Let's go. First dinosaur of the event. And then we'll hold the rest of our spells because we can't cast them. Next turn, we can play a Time Vault and trigger a dinosaur. We can get a treasure if we want, and then we can just make constructs. We have a lot of options because attacking with this dino is going to give us treasures. It's going to turn on our Mox Opal. It's going to turn on our Urza Saga. Things are in a great spot. This is basically exactly how I drew it up. Obviously, drawing Black Lotus was a bit broken, which it typically is. But we did cast Ancestral Recall, which is a bit broken, which it typically is. And we didn't even draw any Moxen, so it's probably fine. All right, white. Seal of Cleansing. Oh no. All right, they have the answer to my Poetic Ingenuity, or are they going to answer my Urza Saga? That is the question. And the Soul Ring to buy the Lurrus, maybe. Lurrus Seal every turn is going to be challenging. So I'm interested to see if they think that Poetic Ingenuity or Urza Saga is the more powerful card. Yeah. Poetic Ingenuity is the more powerful card. Hold on, I do need to screenshot this just for the Twitter values. All right, Poetic Ingenuity is down. We don't get our treasure token, notably, so... But we do have a Time Vault to win this game, so... They do need to answer my Saga now. They have no answer to Saga now. That's a classic Saga. Just the saga disrespect into "Oops, I Die to It" is an absolute classic. I think we're gonna take a W here. One dinosaur victory. Let's see. My opponent gets to play Lurrus, and then they get to buy back. They can't buy back Seal unless they have another Moxen on color. But they can buy back Black Lotus, I guess. This is fun. I have a dinosaur. Look how cute he is. All teethy and feathery. Let's go! One dinosaur win. Nice Lurrus deck. All right, I'm gonna bring in Shadow Spear. I'm gonna bring in Rending Volley. Actually, kind of looks nice here. Just kills, uncounterably kills Lurrus and Lavinia and all their white creatures. Actually, looks really nice here. I'm gonna take out Tinker. I think I'd rather not have that kind of anti like Tinker costs something to cast, and when it gets countered, it's really bad for me. I'm missing the word that I know. We're definitely gonna bring in a Needle, maybe even two Needles for like Wasteland, Saga, and Seal. Definitely want to play a Needle and a Saga Mirror here. I wonder if we're just supposed to take out Forces. Seems like it could be a thing. Definitely don't want to bring in Cage. Cage is really bad in our deck. It turns off Emery. But Cage is really good against some of the other decks in the format right now, so I think it's fine. Like, you just take out Tinker, and you can bring in Cages. It's not a huge deal. Maybe we even play Soul Guide Lantern. This is like a lot of cards to bring in, but I kind of think the Forces are just like not very good because my opponent doesn't have very many powerful cards, right? So we can play more of a grindy game here. I think this is actually looks like a very favorable setup against any kind of Lurrus deck. I don't typically recommend cutting Forces. Vintage is a thing where even when you're playing against the grindy opponents, there's like a lot of power in having a Force for like a Lurrus or an Ancestral or something like that. But in this particular setup, I think we have this like super grind potential, and my opponent doesn't have that many powerful plays. Kind of like the idea. This hand obviously has inherent weaknesses in the fact that it's all on Tolarian Academy, but obviously I'm keeping a hand that is this powerful. We can play maybe Akal Pakal and Emery to start this game, and that will put us in a pretty nice position of redundancy, hopefully. Let's see what we can do. They want to keep their card that they're drawing. Nice little bobble fetch land interaction. All right. Pearl, open. Play Academy, play Ruby. Play Lantern, hitting Bobble. Actually kind of valuable. Should not have tapped my red mana, but it's okay. All right, I now have 4 mana, so I'm going to start with an Emery. I think it's better than just slamming an Urza on turn 1 to play 2 spells. Have a higher chance of things being good for us. All right, we got an Emery. Filling up a graveyard with Urza's Bobble and Opal. Very powerful. And then I'm going to play in a Akal Pakal. See if that resolves. Yep. It's a lot of text. I know. Big old paragraph. I guess this also has a big old triple paragraph. Triple paragraph. I guess you can't call one line a paragraph, Justin. Whatever. It's fine. Okay, Akal Pakal triggers at the end step. I get 2 cards. One goes in my hand. One goes into my graveyard. I'd love an Urza, but I'd like a land more. My opponent's probably very scared. Why did they put an Urza in their yard? I'm just going to F6 for my own personal value. Definitely don't recommend F6ing here, as it will just tell your opponent that you don't have a counterspell, or at least hint that you don't have a counterspell. But Ooh, both of my creatures are still in play, which means I can just really go to town here. Let's rebuy Opal. I don't need a bauble yet. I'd rather enhance my mana here to a point where I can play a Thought Monitor maybe. Though I guess it's actually Thought Monitor currently costs 4, so I guess I can't cast it yet. So we can play an Opal. We don't need to hold back our key per se because we have an Emery to trigger this every turn. So this currently costs 2 after this key. I'm gonna let myself get Daze. I know that this list is playing Daze sometimes. I'm gonna play around Daze. Even if they counter this, it just means I'm casting it again next turn, so things are really good. This is what I'm saying, like, it's very hard for a control deck to grind with this deck. I will hold the Shadow Spear. I don't think it's a lot of value in playing it now, especially with the Thought Monitor already in play. So I think I'll just hold it. It's a trigger for our call if we need it. Oh, nice. We found a Urza Saga, and we can put the Retrofitter Foundry in our yard for Emery. This is just a high-quality value. I am extracting maximum value at the moment. If my opponent Serenities me, I guess it's pretty damn good, though. I guess not that good, because I have 2 non-artifact creatures that can incur value and rebuy everything, huh? It's kind of sweet. Maybe I'll cycle this Soul Guide Lantern. Let's see. Balance, maybe? Balance would be pretty good. We do have a nice follow-up with Saga Urza, though. White. Blue. Lavinia, maybe? Ah, Lavinia. We've already gotten most of our goodies in here. I think I'm just going to keep my Soul Guide in case I need to exile their graveyard. Doesn't mean we can't rebuy baubles, but I think that's okay. Yeah, let's get an Urza Saga in play. Let's play the Urza around these. We also have Unblockable with Key. Oh, I forgot. This gives me 1,000,000 mana, doesn't it? Cool. Can we make a Retrofitter Foundry token? We totally can. And we can get another Akal Pakal trigger. 1, 2 plus tap. Wow. I'm having a good time now. I will get the Shadow Spear in play too. Oh, I got my Retrofitter Foundry negated. You got it, homie. In that case, let's just get a Shadow Sphere in play, and then I don't need to tap that. I guess this also turns off. This also turns off my Urza. My like activate Urza. Let's equip Akal Pakal with a Shadow Spear and get Rowdy. Wait, this is a great time. I'm having a good time. And then I get a Poetic Ingenuity, or I guess I can't cast Lockcast. So I guess I'll take a Poetic Ingenuity. Sick. Sweet. Fantastic. We have infinite mana, largest constructs of all time. We're gonna get dinosaurs. We don't have more constructs, unfortunately. Strip mine. Rest in peace, Saga. You tried your best. All right. So I only have a bauble left in my yard, but I could cycle a lantern if I wanted to. First, we should Oh, I can't play that till I play a land. Oh, I can't play that at all because I lost my Saga to Wasteland. Okay. Well, in that case, let's cycle a Soul Guide Lantern. Thought Monitor. Yeah. They counter this, we just replay it. Okay. Let's replay a Soul Guide Lantern. Strip mine out of their yard. Oh, it's a beautiful sight. It is a beautiful thing. All right, good start. Round 2 up against Vengevine X4. I sure hope not. This hand is so close, but yet so far. If it simply had a land, a Moxen, we could like slam a turn 1 Akal Pakal with Force Mental Misstep. Unfortunate. Instead, we're stuck on Saga Gaming, which I guess is probably a keep. Now, a question would be, do we keep Force of Will? Or do we keep Citadel? Citadel is actually something we could theoretically cast off a Saga that completed, but I think if a Saga completes, we're probably already winning. So let's just put a Citadel back and give us the ability to bobble into a blue card for Force backup. I am obviously extremely unenthused by this hand, but beggars can't be choosers. I'm on the play. I'm on 6 already. My deck doesn't particularly mulligan super well. All right, my opponent is on a Sphere Resistance deck, which means I am going to slam a Saga in play as well as a Mana Crypt. Don't want it to get sphered. And hopefully we can draw a blue card. We drew a blue card. Time Walk is an incredible card, but we might end up forcing, though they, of course, have, if they have a Strip Mine, they have a Strip Mine, right? Jet. Strip Mine. All right. Saga down. That is obviously what they needed. But now we have an opportunity to like draw a Thought Cast. We could cast here for 3 mana off of Seat. That'd be pretty strong. We could draw the Dinosaur spell. We could draw a Key. So now a question becomes, do we accelerate with a Time Walk, or do we simply... We can get up to Force of Will mana, so we should definitely Time Walk. Forgot that this key is actually +1 mana with a crypt, so we'll actually have 5 mana next turn, so we can just hard cast a Force of Will. So obviously we expose ourselves to a flip, which we have just kept winning, and then we hit a Mox Opal. All right, well, I simply don't have any more action, but I have an infinite mana, and I have a Force of Will for their first play. I will not first force a Sphere, just because I have too much mana for that to matter. Saga is a great draw here. I don't have an answer to Saga currently. Patchwork. Yeah, I think I just forced this Patchwork. Just a tempo play. Hopefully we can draw a Thought Cast and a Thought Monitor and go off. We drew a Jet. All right, well, we can draw a Key, Time Vault. We can draw a Thought Monitor. We can draw a Thought Cast. We can draw Tinker. There's a lot of good draws here. Urza, Emery are all good draws. Akal Pakal is not a great one. Both of the cards, actually, that are top decks from the new cards are not great because they require extra help. We draw an Emerald. I'm going to hold the Emerald just for the reason I just said. I should have held the Jet. I can draw an Akal Pakal or a Dinosaur card, and that would help. It looks like we are simply going to lose to Saga here by flooding out. That was definitely a thing that could have happened with our starting hand. I think that's acceptable. This deck has so many draw engines that I missed, and sometimes you miss, right? Like, I simply have so many draw spells in my deck compared to other decks. Like, I have 4 Thoughtcast, 4 Thought Monitor, 2 Urza, Tinker, Time Vault, my own Sagas, Ancestral Probe. So, I mean, I had a lot of hits. So, all right, they'll probably name Manifold Key, I guess, off of this main deck Needle. That'll weaken my outs, and then they're going to make a construct, I assume. Hit for 4. We have an active crypt. Like I said, I still think there's a very high chance we can win this game simply hitting any of my draw spells. There's one. Urza. One, two, three, four, 5. I can spin, but I have to tap my construct token, which don't think I'm interested in doing. So I have an 8/8 now, which should make my onboard a lot more stable. I do still have a mana crypt that will be hard to get rid of. I technically only have a tinker in my deck that gets rid of it. I started to lose a bunch of flips recently. All right, so what are they going to get? Probably a soul ring, accelerate their mana, I would assume. Black Lotus, mana crypt, mana vault, something like that. Ancestral into Urza was definitely one of the draws I was looking for. I was really hoping to hit some thought monitors, to be perfectly honest. But this is definitely very good, and it's going to give us the opportunity next turn to keep going. I think the biggest concern in this game now is my opponent like suicide attacks in here, gets in for 4 damage, and I die to mana crypt. I guess in that case I could block with a Urza. It might be worth it. Definitely something to consider. My mana crypt is probably the biggest cause of me losing this game. I honestly think that it shouldn't matter too much what they cast for the rest of this game, considering they're on some kind of, aggro shops, maybe goalless shops hybrid. But there are things. Don't think we want to spin on end step. The only instant we have in our deck is force. So unless I have to counter something with a force, I wouldn't want to spin on end step. That just exiles a card for no reason. Opponent is deep in the Urza Saga shuffle tank. I don't know what they're thinking about. I mean, realistically, what can they have? They can have mana. They can have a Soul Guide Lantern, maybe. They can have a Shadow Spear, maybe. I mean, I assume it's just mana, right? Like, you currently have no lands. You have 1 floating mana, 1 jet, and no lands. Just get a Soul Ring, right? All right, my opponent disconnected, which makes a lot of sense. Okay, my opponent has returned. They have brought the Black Lotus into play like we all suspected would happen. My opponent plays like a bunch of artifacts here and makes them big enough to trade with this construct token. It is very problematic for me. I think at this point, I mean, even simply playing 2 artifacts gives them the ability to attack in. I would probably be... I'm probably blocking in most attack scenarios here. Wow, Foundry Inspector makes things cost less. Things are bad. Things are very bad. I think we lost like 1 too many flips, and we drew our Ancestral 1 turn too late, probably. We'll see what happens. Metamorph. Wow, big play. I like that a lot, Metamorph. Just an Urza of their own. 7/7s. So they can tap 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I mean, we're just going to super die to that. Metamorph is a great card here. Really frustratingly good. Wow, what is this? This is nonsense. Now I'm double chumping. Things are bad. Things are bad. Wow, my opponent simply just played their entire deck. Fire hand, I should say. I don't think there's any combination of cards that win me this game. Turns out passing the turn into a possible metamorph was a problem. No one could have seen this coming. All right. Well, my opponent was the one who got to have fun in this one, but expecting their hand to be just like Inspector Metamorph is a little interesting. That's a good draw. Draw 2. I don't think I can win though, because I'm not sure I have an answer to Needle in my deck. I just drew blanks anyways. Like I said, I needed to draw things a turn earlier. We didn't, so it didn't work out. Instead, I'm going to take out Tinker Citadel. I'm going to bring in Hercules. I'm going to bring in Negation. I might not even bring in Negation on the play here. I might just bring in Trap, Shadow Spear, Needle, Misstep out, Probe out. I want all of these creatures in my deck. I want all of these forces in my deck. I want all of these lands in my deck. I can trim a Bauble maybe here. Something like this. All right, we're just looking for a broken hand. Anything that does something powerful. Okay, definitely a keep. Ancestral Recall. Definitely can cast here too, which is great. Cast myself. Monitor Urza. All right. I sure hope we don't get null rotted before we can play this Urza. That would be pretty unfortunate. If we get the Urza down, we shouldn't have to worry about getting null rotted, which would be great. Definitely a wasteland name on this Needle. It's going to secure us Urza or Saga. Workshop. Needle. Saga, Emery, Urza. Something like that. Manifold Key, Nilrod immediately slammed. Of course. All right, I guess we lose. Guess I did need to bring in Negation. All right, well, I can still technically draw a Tolarian Academy. None of the cards that were in my hand would have been negations anyways. I wasn't cutting any of these cards, so it's not like I would have had a negation for this Null Rod, but... Can't even play my Saga because I can't make the mana yet. Oh, why did I just... I'm sorry, chat. I did not realize I had 6 artifacts. That's my fault. Whoops. I was too busy yelling at a certain individual in the Discord who is saying dumb things again, which is something I just need to not ever do. Because it is simply a waste of time. They don't have a second land, which is nice. Here's a Thought Monitor. It might not be enough, though, realistically. If I had casted the other turn, I would have been able to cast Thoughtcast this turn, though. So I think I threw this game because I was being a salty boy. Now they get their own Thought Monitor. God. It's actually just really bad for me. I can draw Hercules Recall. That's kind of it. I just have to draw Hercules Recall, right? Just didn't draw Hercules Recall. I can make a blocker and maybe live here. Okay. Like, I do think we win the game if we were to draw Hercules Recall, right? Maybe, maybe not. Hercules Recall certainly looks good on this board. What is this draw? Okay. I take 9 and go to 2. Hercules Recall still gets me there, I think. Oh, I just didn't draw anything that have value, right? Oh well. Okay, here we go. Round 3. Let's do it. A Lurrus deck. That's good. Is this hand worth keeping? Probably. I feel the rush, addicted to your touch. I think we just keep that in play, actually. It represents a mana towards casting this Thought Monitor, right? And I currently need a mana to cast this Thought Monitor, so... Because it currently costs -3, 4. So I have 4 next turn, so I'm gonna wait. See what happens. Saga Soul Ring, sure. Bobble, sure. Bobble, sure. Who's the artifact deck now? Emery. Okay. I'm just gonna go. Oh, I should not do that first. I'm just going to play my Thought Monitor here. If they counter it, I'm gonna force it probably. It's kind of what we need to play this game. We did not draw a blue land, but we did draw infinite turns with a force backup. So they do have a negation in their hand. Negation cannot counter Thought Monitor. Very nice. I'd love to find a different blue card so that I can Emery back something. Though negation is actually kind of problematic in the fact that it will exile my Time Vault and I won't be able to rebuy it with Emery. Sure. Okay. Well, this is what I got. So can I hardcast Force? I kind of can hardcast Force, but I also kind of can't hardcast Force. If I hardcast Force, I can't activate this turn. So I'm just going to force this pitching Emery and hope they don't have a second Force in their hand. Yeah, they have a second Force of Negation and a Force of Will. So my opponent's hand was Force of Will, Force of Negation, Treasure Cruise. Sick. And now they make Construct tokens. And I have to lose. Okay. Unlucky. I don't lose, obviously. I have top decks, but I don't have a lot of time. Obviously, I have all the same top decks as my previous game, where I have 4 Thoughtcasts, 3 Thought Monitor, I have Urzas, I have Emery's. Even Black Lotus is a top deck now because I have Citadel. I can't take infinite turns here, though, so I do need to win on the ground. Shouldn't be too big a deal. Looks like they took a Pearl so they can fix their mana, and maybe they can just play a Lavinia here. Doesn't look like it, maybe. Interesting. Second Saga is obviously great. This is mostly having to do with me just not interacting with my opponent. Ah, cool. Ancestral Recall. Yeah, that's a good one, too. I just simply am like all in on my combo elements, and I don't have my own Saga draws, so I just don't have the ability to compete with a person who does have the ability to interact. It's worked sometimes, right? Like you saw in the first round versus Lurrus, where we just overpowered their interaction. Man, the Seal of Cleansings have been something else here. Lost another Crypt Flip, and I drew a seat, so I die. All right. Sometimes you have it, and sometimes you don't have it. We've drawn our Citadel in many games here. Wondering if you're even supposed to play Tinker Citadel anymore in this kind of deck. So playing against Blue-White Lurrus, I'm going to do the same thing I did last time, where I bring in like Needles, Shadow Sphere, Soul Guide Lantern, Rending Volley. Basically, the blue-white deck can always beat this deck if it wants to, playing things like Null Rod or Serenity or, you know, the things of that vein. But there are definitely some upsides in playing this kind of matchup, especially if the blue-white and the controlling Lurrus decks don't like tech for that kind of thing. I think at this point, every deck should be playing Null Rods in their sideboard if you can, just because you're going to be able to beat up Jewel that way. It will always hurt Jewel more than it will hurt you. Even if this deck doesn't really want to be null rotted, it's not gonna like be upset or lose the game because it's null rotted. This hand's great. I've got tons of fast mana. I'm going to run straight into Mindbreak Trap. I don't feel like playing around that here. We even have our Solarian covered from Wasteland with a nice needle. If I get Mental Misstep, I'll be sad, I guess. But yeah, great. In that case, I don't have as many good plays because I have 2 artifacts. So the question will be Thoughtcast or Akal Pakal. I'm going to play Akal Pakal, and the reason is because of negation. Yeah, I'm going to play Akal Pakal here. Definitely wish I could do more. If I had the needle in play, then I could have done both. But I obviously ran straight into Mindbreak Trap, and I got Mindbreak Trapped. So my 1-drop got misstepped, and my 4th spell got Mindbreak Trapped, and now I'm going to get my Tolarian Academy Wastelanded, and I'm going to lose the game, which is exciting. But I mean, I'm just always going to play this out like that. I guess there's like a world where you could go Crypt, Akal Pakal, Mox Needle, but I don't think that's a world that I would play out. If I was like 100% sure they had a Mindbreak Trap in hand, like they flipped it on the table, then obviously I would do that. But like in the blind, stemming your possible top play by that much is just like extremely silly. Prismatic Ending on my my Mana Crypt, so I can't die to it, and now I can't cast my spells. So I'm dead. Very nice. Oh man, now I am not having fun. I was having a lot of fun, and now I am simply not having any fun. So that's not good. That's kind of what happens when you play these Seed of the Cyanod affinity decks. They are extremely fun when they work, and then when they don't work, you just don't get to play any Magic, and it's really disappointing. I guess there's a world where we could maybe build this deck with more of like Ancient Tombs in mind and not play this. But like if I'm playing Emery, I really do want to just play Thought Monitor. Emery and Thought Monitor is a really strong combination, right? So like if I were to play this deck and I weren't going to play Thought Monitor, I feel like it's just not really what I want to be doing. So I kind of have to like take the highs and lows of playing the Seed of the Cyanod deck. Currently, there are a lot of lows happening. Wow. Flusterstorm, negation, swords. I mean, they're going to negate this Black Lotus, right? Oh, they're not? That doesn't make any sense. Why would you not negate this Black Lotus? Oh, because I cost 4 and I can only make 3. So they can just hit this Flusterstorm and pay for it at least. Okay. Is what it is. I can't pay for it. That's Storm 3. So I just get, I mean, if I get flustered here, they don't make a construct, so I guess it's fine. And if they don't fluster this, then I just like can hit things and go into Thought Monitor mode, and it's probably really good for me. So they have to fluster here. So I'm basically trading a Thought Cast for a fluster and a construct, so it's actually pretty good, all things considered. I don't really have a choice. Like, that's a force play on my end. There's like no chance I'm ever waiting there. So I think if I was the opponent, they knew the contents of my hand, right? They knew my whole hand. I would have simply negated this Black Lotus and made it so I couldn't cast any spells, and you still get to make a construct and tempo me out. So I'm of the opinion that my opponent just made a little bit of a mistake, but I don't think it's going to matter very much. My opponent can get a Black Lotus here, buy Lurrus, and start looping Baubles, probably, is the best play. Well, they went Soul Ring so they could make constructs. I think that's worse. They hit a land drop for turn, so they can buy Lurrus anyways. Okay, that's better then. Yeah, I mean, if they hit a land for turn, then they can simply buy Lurrus right here. That didn't do anything. I would just buy Lurrus. You can't hold up negation, so... All right, so Lurrus is in their hand, negation sword. So we have a chance here. We simply need to draw some things to make these monitors go off. A rending volley. That may be good later. So there's that. All right, I declare this as the spell I'm casting, and then I use my Black Lotus. And now we need a lot of help here from this Thought Monitor. That is a lot of help. It notably doesn't cast Rending Volley, but it does exactly cast Thought Monitor. So that was like pretty good. That was like one of probably my best set of draws. And then we hit the thing that casts Rending Volley. And I'm going to hold this Mox Opal so that I can trigger one of my other things if I draw them. So my opponent's going to make another construct, and then they're going to get a Black Lotus, and they're going to cast Lurrus. And there will be no window where the Lurrus will not extract value from this here, but I think that's okay. This can't be countered, thankfully, from the negation, so that's not an issue either. Do like Rending Volley a lot right now. Rending Volley and... I don't know, I think there's a lot of value in Rending Volley. It's like hard to be a red deck right now, but Rending Volley against this blue-white deck is quite strong. So here's this. They're going to return Bauble. There's no reason for me to do this now, but I guess their attack is still going to be like really bad for me, so... All right, whatever. Just kill this thing. So my opponent's hand is negation +1 after they draw off of Bauble, and unfortunately my opponent has 10 power worth of constructs because I don't interact with my opponent. I just need to do the thing where I draw my cards that draw spells. Urza, I just can't do it, man. I simply cannot do it. The max this can do is 14, right? Okay. I mean, they can time walk or something, but whatever. I don't know. All these games have been like, oh, I cast a Thought Cast or a Thought Monitor, and I draw 2, and I draw 2 more Moxes and die. It feels like I'm never chaining my Thought Monitors into each other. I don't know what I need to do differently to make that happen, but like, I just doesn't seem like that's the thing that's happening. Wasteland on my Academy. All right, I need to make blockers, so I need like an Urza. Poetic Ingenuity is technically a blocker, but I don't think it's enough blockers. Also, it gets negated, so great. I'm dead on board. Well, this is very much not very fun for me, but hopefully the next couple rounds will be more interesting. All right. Hopefully this will go a little bit better than the last one. This hand has... I think this hand is unfortunately a land or a mock short of being keepable. I'm on the draw though, and I have like ingenuity into a dinosaur, could make treasures. I don't know. I'm gonna try it. Obviously, this hand is a little bit risky. If they play like a sphere or a chalice, I die. But like, I don't know. I want to try to keep some of these more outlandish hands and try to get cool things to happen. This hand is just simply like a Moxen or a land away from being totally fine. So, and we're on the draw. Opponent went for the Black Lotus Brainstorm line into fetch land, but we have the Mental Misstep covering it. They're going to follow up with what? Maybe an Oko, maybe a Merchant Scroll Ancestral. Sick. Brainstorm into fetch away with Merchant Scroll into Ancestral line. Nice. All right, well, my opponent's hand was slightly more powerful than mine. Okay. Upkeep, Ancestral, sure. Play around Negation. Don't have to play around Misstep anymore. I hit the land, sweet. Let's go. Interesting. So I think, what is the order I want to do this in? So if I want a Poetic Ingenuity, which I do think I want the most, I have to cast Lotus first. But the problem is if I do that, I actually don't have an Emery follow-up. However, if I were to cast Lotus, Opal, and cast Emery, then I could still play Akal Pakal, so... All right, let's see if they counter Emery. No. See if they counter Akal Pakal. It's a nice setup. Turn 1, Akal Pakal, Emery, if I can get him going. Black Lotus every turn with Emery as well. It's a high value turn 1. Their hand was also really high value turn 1, more traditionally with Black Lotus, Ancestral, but we got some nice permanents here that will gain continual advantage if they don't force it. All right. So I have played. I mean, I'm happy now. I did draw the card I was looking for, and I got to play my powerful turn 1. So the biggest downside right now is I don't currently have a Force of Will. Maybe I can find one off a Akal Pakal. I found Thoughtcast, Mox Opal. All right, I guess I'll take Thoughtcast. Unfortunately, these just 8 cast cards have just been just atrocious. Like, they're just not castable, and they make me play really bad cards. Yeah, I think playing the 8 cast shell here certainly feels like a huge mistake. In fact, I think like Akal Pakal and Poetic Ingenuity have just been better than the 8 cast cards, which is really, really, really unfortunate. All right, the good news is we didn't get tinkered, so that's like the one thing we're super worried about here. And so now we have to rebuy Black Lotus. We're triggering Pakal. I don't need a Thought Monitor from the yard currently. I think we're not playing Poetic Ingenuity this turn. We have our engines in play. I think I'd rather set myself up to play Thoughtcast here and try to find a Force of Will. So I'm going to get 3 artifacts in play and then cast Thoughtcast. I think is better than casting Monitor. It's probably not. Okay, so now I can either play this and cast a Monitor. Is that better than a Poetic Ingenuity? Yeah. Like I said, I think the way we lose this game is my opponent tinkers us. So I think it's better to simply just use our things to try to draw as many cards as possible. Okay. Now the question is, how many of these baubles am I willing to put into? I think I'm willing to use both of these baubles to try to draw into things that matter. Pio, interesting. Oh, this is the Pio painter player. Okay. I understand now. So I definitely want force. I mean, we have a really crazy draw engine. We have an Emery that loops things. We have a Pakal looping things at end of turn. We have thought monitors going. We don't currently have a lot of mana, unfortunately, but I'd just like to take a force off of this Akal Pakal, really. This is a Psycholorian, sure. We know 3 of their 5 cards. I found an Ancestral Recall, but again, that's not Force of Will. This is another thing I found was when I built these 8-cast shells, I really wanted to play 2 negations in my deck. And the reason I wanted to play 2 negations is because I didn't feel like I draw it into force enough with my draw engine. I couldn't fit them in this version, but definitely just rebuying Black Lotus here. I don't even think I want to play Saga. It doesn't really feel like that's how I'm winning this game. But maybe I'm supposed to. Let's start with Ancestral. See what happens first. All right, we finally have a force. All right, I am going to play Saga and build out this mana here. Like, we're going to win this game with Volkey and infinite cards, not like attacking with constructs or something, is what I was trying to say, but I think the first thing we want to do is actually just Thought Monitor. Try to find some different blue cards. Yeah, okay. Let's get an Urza going. Currently have enough for a spin. Vampiric Tutor. Okay. We know that they have a Citadel, a Saga. They can go Grindstone Painter. They can go... I mean, this can already find Saga, Lotus for them. I mean, they don't really have a lot going on. They're going to definitely go for a win here, though. Emery has been pretty outstanding. Our Emerys have lived a lot. Emery and Akal have just been drawing a lot of cards. They've kind of enabled these thought monitors to actually be cast, which has been very nice. Next turn, I don't even have to rebuy Lotus. I can rebuy Thought Monitor. I'd really like to find a second force, to be honest. I don't know how I would do that, but Thoughtcast is a good start for sure. Blue card force, maybe. Okay. Well, at the end step, I get another card, but unfortunately, it can't be a blue card force. So I don't know if that matters. The nice part about this Akal is it's not limited to like artifacts or anything. Like I can actually find forces and stuff with it. I have 4 forces in my deck, and 1 was in my top 30. I felt like this was a compelling plan, considering knowing my opponent did not have a lot of action. I mean, I can just win with construct tokens, I guess. So maybe I should have been more. I mean, what could I have really done to get more construct tokens? I can't really, right? Next turn, I play a 1 mana draw 2. Make constructs. I think Pakal is actually, I don't know. What am I? I'm F3. Oh my god. Apparently I was F6. I know I stopped F6ing, but it's fine. Just a PO for 2. Maybe I would have even let that resolved anyways. It's possible. Kind of been a messy league. This is actually a big problem I have personally. When I play not on stream, I find myself losing focus very easily. When I play leagues, and this is even worse when I'm not recording. When I'm recording, I have like a little bit of, trying to make sure it all works out. But I don't know. I just have a very low attention span when I just don't feel like there's a lot of value in playing the game. Or like when I'm not engaged with what streaming does is it allows me to be engaged with the game in an extra way where I'm talking things out. I'm talking about the match the whole time. I think I just let these POs resolve, to be honest. I mean, if I had countered the first PO, it would have made a lot more sense, but my opponent has 2 POs in their top 20. Seems good. Kind of want to like only counter a spell that wins the game, and PO doesn't win the game, but it really only is. It's 1 blue mana and it's draw. It's cycle +1, so it's really not that strong here. If they were picking up 3 permanents, then I'm pretty sure I would 100% always counter the first one. Or if they like are making mana, if they had a blue mana inside of here, it would be more important too. Yogg will. That's not allowed to resolve. If they found forcible blue card off of this, it's really bad for me. No. Okay. All right. My opponent's on that weird deck. It's like a painter PO hybrid deck. Probably just want negation trap, and that's kind of it. Maybe a needle would be nice to have. Besides that, I don't know. I'm not really super interested in Tinker. I think Tinker Citadel might just be bad. I probably should have just cut it from my deck. In this deck, it just doesn't seem like it's what I want to be doing. Don't really feel like this is a Retrofitter Foundry matchup. And I'll cut an island. Yeah, that looks reasonable. This is a little bit of a different matchup than... Oh, I don't... No, please don't submit. This is a little bit of a different matchup than the control decks. They're not wastelanding me. We're going to do a bit of a different kind of game plan for this. Don't think I want anything else. I don't want to like overboard either. I think 1 needle to find off of Saga for like a possible Painter Grindstone might be just the most valuable. Like going more than that is probably too much. I almost think I was supposed to counter that first PO. My opponent has a lot of 5-0s, but like this is a deck, for example, this is like a deck list they're playing. They're kind of just playing a Grixis Saga deck, and in their flex slots, they're choosing to play 1 Grindstone, 3 Painter. But they're also playing 4 PO. Very interesting deck. Yeah, this hand is totally fine. I have a Force. I have turn 1 Emery. I I could even play turn 1 Poetic Ingenuity if I were to draw another artifact. They have a Lotus hand. They have a Mana Crypt hand. They have 6 mana. They have Hardcast Force Up. So I did draw another artifact. So what I'm going to do here is go Seat, Emerald, Opal, Ingenuity. And it's actually a blue artifact. So I can go Ingenuity, and then I can get a dinosaur, and then I can play my Emery too. Kind of a sweet hand. Ooh, breaking news. Vintage has been announced as a showcased format for next season. And also, we're going to get an RCQ. Very nice. Force on my Poetic Ingenuity. This is acceptable. Definitely not forcing back. I want to have my force for a Tinker or something. My opponent had Force Fluster, Hardcast Force, Force Fluster, 1 card in hand. So I'm really glad I didn't force back. Would have been played right into a Flusterstorm. And now I'm actually just 1 artifact away from casting this Thought Monitor. They have 1 card left in hand. So I'm definitely super far ahead here in this game. Thoughtcast is a great draw. This is like definitely the kind of hand where Thoughtcast and Thought Monitor look amazing when you have the artifact land, your Moxen. Can't cast any of these right now, but we're in a good spot. This Saheeli is going to take extra turns with Time Vaults at some point. Blue. Is it Tinker? Oh, it's Jace of Rune's Prodigy. Interesting. I'm not really willing to counter Jace. It will make like Tinker have flashback or something, but that's okay. Time Walk. I think I'm willing to invest into this first Time Walk just because I have so much stuff I can do if I simply hit mana. It's like a lot worse for me to use my Time Walk now, but all right, I'm gonna get the Saheeli down. It's like the only play that makes sense here. I guess Jace can't really attack it either. If I so next turn, what I can do is the servos are. I'm thinking about Summoning Sickness. Target artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature you control, except it's an artifact. So I think I can cast this, make a servo, turn the servo into a Time Vault, and tap it right away, because the Time Vault will not have Summoning Sickness, because it will no longer be a servo, which works out the best because it means I'm actually going to have like a ton of artifacts in play as well. 1 card left from my opponent. All right, so I cast Time Vault. It makes a servo. I haven't gotten to do this in a very long time. It's been a long time. Force, hard cast. All right, I'm going to force this back. I'm going to pitch the Emery. I'm going to make another servo. So now that I have 2 servos, I have a Time Vault. I'm pretty sure I can just do this. Target artifact I control becomes a copy of target artifact. It becomes a Time Vault. And then we tap it and take an extra turn, and we can do that again next turn. It's been a long time since I got a screenshot of this one. Oh, and we also just get enough artifacts that I can cast Thought Monitor. Kind of nice. Oh, play some more artifacts, get some more servos. And then next turn, we can turn them all into sapphires with our Urza. And then we can take another turn. We are simply going off. Another seat. So seat, Urza, construct. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Cast. Negation is dead. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so I will turn this Mox into a Time Vault, take another turn, attack, and then I have a lethal attack with this construct. Very cool. Saheeli. Big. Wow, huge win. All right, here we go. 5th round versus our good friend Chess Knight. I had a lot more fun in round 4, so hopefully people stuck around for that one. Getting to do the Saheeli combo was really nice, but obviously I was a bit of a salty boy in round 3 there, and round 2 too. That can happen sometimes. I am only human. Only human after all. So my opponent's probably on some kind of prison shops. Unfortunately, this hand is just not enough to play anything, so I'm gonna have to put it back. This hand is not great, but I'm gonna keep it. We've got the ability to counter a first spell out of shops. If we don't have to counter anything, we can possibly Thoughtcast later in the game, and we have double Saga, which helps fix some of the issues we have here. Definitely going to just lead on Seat, though. I feel like it's the most powerful thing we can do to advance our game plan. We can't activate a Saga unless we draw another Moxen on the first turn, so I think that's going to be a little risky. Mana Crypt. That's a good one. Island. Okay, so maybe not shops. Tinker? My god. Who'd you learn that from? F6. All right, had the force. 2 cards for two cards. No problem. Saga Gaming. All right, so now the question becomes, does my opponent have a significant follow-up to Tinker here? I obviously have a strong one in Urza Saga. Maybe they'll have their own Urza Saga. A question I will have to ask. Oh, they had a strip mine. That's a good answer. I do have another Urza Saga. All right, drawing all land on both of my turns here has not been ideal, but it is what it is. Can't change that. All right, fetch land. All right, so really they are branching off into something new here. Let's see what they've got. Bayou. Okay. Oath of Druids. All right. Sick. That does make it pretty hard for me to do the things I want to do here. It's going to be very hard for me to activate my Saga. So I probably won't unless they play an Orchard. No Orchard means I think activating the Saga would be pretty silly here. Not going to do that. Gonna try. I have all these draw engines in my deck that don't involve creatures as well. I mean, not that many actually, but do I want a key? Do I want a Retrofitter Foundry? Retrofitter Foundry also adds creatures, but getting mana doesn't make sense. I think we can just get a Bauble for drawing here. Take a peek at their hand. Have an Atraxa in hand. I guess one thing we do have is we have a Thought Monitor to put in off of Show and Tell. Yeah, I think we are currently in a pretty bad spot, all things considered. I don't really have a lot of tools to not trigger Oath in game 1. That's why we have a bunch of cages. I mean, if they Show and Tell as well, it means they had Mana Crypt, Tinker, 3 lands, Oath, Show and Tell with a Strip Mine. Not much I can do about that. What they can do is they could play Oko and turn my Seat of the Cyanod into an Elk. Wow. That would be quite frustrating. Oko is such a good card in that Oath deck. It's crazy. Yeah, unfortunately, a lot of my things here are creatures. So I think I am going to play out this Ruby just so I have hardcast Force. It does mean not doing this, but I also, that makes a creature, so it's kind of hard to do that. I think I need to find like some draw spells into Vault Key is the best way forward here. All right, Vampiric. They have a Trax in hand. It'll be pretty unlikely for them to vamp for. I mean, what they should do is they should vamp for a Forbidden Orchard. What they might do is vamp for a Show and Tell. It like seems like it'd be a better, like higher value play to get a Show and Tell right, but getting an Orchard is an uncounterable way. I could have forced the Vampiric Tutor, and in fact, I was probably supposed to force the Vampiric Tutor because my opponent can get an Orchard. But yeah, when Chess Knight hopefully watches this video back, you should vamp here for an Orchard. That being said, they're probably still going to win, so it's not a huge deal. But yeah, definitely putting something on the stack is a lot worse than just simply vamping for a thing that does not go on the stack. Forcing me to counter the Vampiric Tutor is much stronger. Okay, yeah, they just draw the Forbidden Orchard anyways. Sick. Little kid luck. It's fine. What is this? A Show and Tell as well? Holy moly. I'm actually going to let this. No, I'm not gonna let this resolve. I was thinking about letting this resolve just because I could draw 2 cards and it'll like fuel me, but that would just give them an attractive trigger and into a force. So they have Flusterstorm backup. My God, this kid is hurting me. All right, well, this isn't the end of the world because it taps them out. I guess it doesn't really tap them out because they get a land. So we do have this Thought Monitor, so we are at least drawing cards here. All right, none of these are good. My opponent hit Force of Will, so things are basically doomed. So they're going to take Force of Will. They hit Lotus, Show and Tell, Atraxa, Force of Will, Oko. What the Come on, man. Oh, that is wild. That is just like crazy. If I were them, I probably would Show and Tell a second Atraxa into play. But now they have Force too, so like what am I really going to conceivably do here? Okay, I mean... it's just never winning this game, huh? It is what it is. All right, I'm going to take out my Tinker Citadel because I'm going to bring in all these cages. That's just the main reason. I want to trim on Emery's as well because I'm bringing in these cages. I'm going to bring in Mindbreak Trap, Negation. Obviously, I still have a pile of creatures in my deck right now, but maybe I'm going to bring in Needle instead of Foundry for Oko. But yeah, I want to just bring in these cages and take out the things like the cage counters. So. This matchup is probably very hard. I would suspect, just because I'm really using a bunch of creature engines, right? Like this is an enchantment, but it's actually just a creature. I just have way too many creatures in this deck. Hopefully with these counter spells, it's like a little bit better, but I can't even being, yeah, I just can't imagine this matchup is very good. They get to bring in things like Null Rod and Vigor in the board as well. So there's actually just a tons of stuff. Okay. Test Knight is in the tank, about sideboarding. All right, we're in. Next game, Ancestral. Keep. I actually have like triple and double Ancestral in this hand, huh? I wonder if I am supposed to just Ancestral on their turn to play around negation. They can have up to 2 negations here, really. I think I will, actually. I think what I'll do is I'll just play out my stuff and I'll cast Thoughtcast. Like, that plays into Mindbreak Trap, but I do need to, like, expand this game here. All right, well, now I'm going to just cast it. Ancestral. Thought Monitor. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I can untap an Emerald, an Opal, and play a Thought Monitor. Probably better to just play a Saga here. I guess it doesn't actually help me, really. So there's no reason to really play a Saga. My opponent kept a 6-card hand with no counters, means they're probably going to hurt me. I feel like I've been drawing a lot of lands, too. I drew a lot of cards this turn, right? So, all right. Thought Monitor, a couple more cards. Anything good? Any nice ones? Pakal. All right, well, I mean, this is a hand. I put a lot of mana in play. I just don't know if that's actually going to be good because I did not draw any counter magic, right? I drew 7 cards on turn 1, and none of them were counter magic. And my opponent's going to turn 1 show and tell, or turn 1 oath me. They're going to besiege you my Saga. That's not what I had in mind, but okay. That is odd. I don't know what that means. Don't really understand. Need to find... Oh, okay. Let's play an Akal Pakal and see if it baits a force. Then we'll play a Saga, see if it baits a force. And then we'll play a Mina Vault and we'll win the game. Oh, there's the force. All right. Disciplined. So an artifact did not enter play under my control this turn, so I will not trigger a Akal Pakal. Is this an oath now? Interesting. I wonder if they had an oath on turn 1 and chose to besiege you instead. So I could have played a seat to trigger a Akal Pakal, but the Saga is definitely better. So I can trigger a Akal Pakal on this turn by playing a seat. That doesn't trigger this. So I can play the seat. That'll trigger a Akal Pakal. I can play this, which is going to do nothing. And then I can make a construct on their turn to trigger a Akal Pakal again. But I unfortunately don't have interaction. So I'll take a needle. And now it's their turn. They're going to get an Atraxa. I guess they could get a Sarah's Emissary and name creature. And then I don't know exactly how I win. Probably don't have an answer to a Sarah's Emissary, to be honest. This hit them Force of Vigor, Show and Tell, Atraxa, Oko, Demonic. Not a bad hand. The good news is I can make a very large construct and give it unblockable, but unfortunately they hit the Vigor. If they hadn't hit the Vigor, then maybe we had a chance, but don't feel like we have a chance anymore. So my opponent gets to pick Island, Vigor, Oko, Atraxa, Demonic, or Show. They took Show over Demonic. Why? If you just take land, you can go Demonic Time Walk. Don't like that play. Oh, they have Vampiric for Time Walk in their hand. Awesome. Sick. Fantastic. Great. Lovely. Whatever, man. Actually, definitely, I get my card at the end of turn here, which is kind of fun. I'm just gonna F6. I guess they could technically get Tinker here and tinker away this mana crypt if they wanted to. They're at 11. I mean, I'm assuming they're just vamping for Time Walk, right? This obviously exposes my construct token to an Oko, but I just want to F6 instead. Wait, they're just passing? Why are they just passing? I don't understand that. Okay. I don't imagine that's correct. But I might still not really be able to win. Are they going to hit my Saga and my construct so that I can't get a cage? Or are they going to let me get a cage and get a huge construct? Okay. What do they vamp for then? Maybe another Vigor? Yeah, they vamp for a second Vigor. I see. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's fine. All right, well, show me your secrets. It's a show and tell fluster. Play a Poetic Ingenuity. Play a seat. Play a needle. Get some dinosaurs. Needle Oko. Thief of Crowns. No, maybe I'll just needle Beseiju. I don't know. Doesn't really matter much, does it? All right, we pass the turn. We get an Akal trigger, and we get get a Pakal trigger. We get a Graph Digger's Cage and a Mindbreak Trap. I think it's too late for Cage to be good, whereas a Mindbreak Trap might be able to push something through. Lost the flip. They're at 6. Pseudo 13. Trap is obviously not good at the moment because they have Fluster, but Ancestral off the top. But they didn't activate Oath again? I feel like you have to activate Oath again. You're so far behind. I don't really understand. Maybe I guess there are 2 Atraxas in Exile. So there's only 1 Atraxa left, so maybe you can't. Weird game. So I lost my key, so I don't have unblockable. I took a Crypt Flip. Thoughtcast. Draw. I just drew nothing. All right, this is a Pakal trigger. This is a Poetic Ingenuity trigger. If I attack all, they get healed for 7, and they take not enough. So I have to hold back and chump with a Thought Monitor. This gave me nothing. Okay. I mean, it's giving me a trigger every turn, so it's not like it's nothing, but also if they show and tell, I guess I could put an artifact in. Trigger again. This Akal Pakal is really nice. I wish it dug a little deeper, but I think it'd probably be a little too strong if it did. All right, so I have to chump block with a Thought Monitor here, or I die. They're now at 17. I don't have enough dinosaurs to kill them, unfortunately. So I will have to draw something nice. I have to draw like exactly Thought Monitor here, right? I've lost another Crypt Flip. Thought Cast. Draw. Urza. Let me This is fine. Urza. Okay. Mox. Dinosaurs. I need a time walk. All right, I have some spins though, so they have probably Flusterstorm at this point though. That's kind of a problem. Tap. Tap. Spin. Thought Monitor is my best hit because it just buys me a turn without getting flustered. Mox. This is a pretty sad game to lose, but it is what it is. Mox. And we die. I feel like if we hadn't lost as many crit flips as we did, we would have been fine. We needed like one more turn, huh? All right, technically I have an Akal Pakal trigger at the end of the step. I don't know what that does for me, but technically I have it. Saheeli. Would that have done anything? Not really. Yeah, this is unfortunate. I think this game is like super, super winnable based on the line my opponent took with Double Vigor. I'm not saying the line that my opponent took with Double Vigor was wrong, considering. I mean, I think it was wrong because I would rather have time walked, but like I don't think you want to pitch both those Atraxas. You can simply show and tell those Atraxas into play and gain a bunch of card advantage. I don't know. Looks like we were simply one attack too late, right? So this hits us, it kills us. If we hadn't, we would attack with this. It would get blocked, and we would attack for 3, 6. I'm just doing some math here. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 19, 23. We would have been one short of lethal. It's kind of interesting. No. We could have won because what we could do is we could change a servo into a dinosaur. Okay, so if we were simply, we needed to buy a single another turn. If we bought a single another turn, we could have attacked through this Atraxa with dinosaurs in one. Kind of disappointing, but we'd let them trigger an oath. So what are we talking about here? So 2-3, but it wasn't really that bad, all things considered. I do simply wonder if like this 8-cast shell was like the real problem here. Like, we can definitely build this deck in a different way playing these cards. But what we did get to do is we did get to play a bunch of Akal Pakals, which were pretty reasonable. And we played some Poetic Ingenuity, which I actually think was also kind of reasonable. It's definitely a little worse because, 1, it's red. 2, you need to cast a spell after it. So it makes the times where you can have it like a little bit worse. I was pretty impressed with Akal Pakal, though. Saheeli was great. I like a Saheeli. Maybe this deck can play 2 Saheelis. It can definitely play 2 Saheelis if you like just drop this seat problem. I think what I would be interested in doing is cutting Thoughtcast, Thought Monitor, and like trying to figure out a way to play this deck without these. Maybe the deck just becomes too anemic at that point. But like if we can cut the 8-cast part of this deck and play like, maybe you play Ancient Tomb. Like, you could play Ancient Tomb instead. And then maybe that still vibes. So, like, cut these for 4 Ancient Tombs. And then, because that makes your Saga better against Null Rod. And then you can still play Opal. Maybe you don't play 3 Opal. Maybe you play 2 Opal. Let's just take a look what something like this might look like if we were to cut the 8-cast package. I know that the 8-cast package is very, very powerful. And it's totally, like, it can be justifiable to play it, but I am really a big proponent on how much it hurts you. So like you could go back up to 4 baubles. You have Time Walk. You could maybe play. I mean, you can't really play Saheeli with Ancient Tomb though, so I'm not sure about the Saheelis and the Urzas. But maybe with Opal, it's fine. I would want to play some blue cards, right? You can play like Negation. We could play like Merchant Scroll. We can play Repeal. We can play a bunch of like things in the flex slots that are blue, right? So I think maybe that's a better way. It's possible that Ancient Tomb is like also not the way to go, and the Ancient like the reason I think Ancient Tomb is because you have all these 3 drops and 4 drops and stuff. So maybe you want to play Ancient Tomb, but maybe you cut that and I don't know. All I know is I was pretty happy to showcase Akal Pakal and Poetic Ingenuity. Hope you made it to the end of this video. If there are more cards in the Lost Caverns of Ixalan that you want to see, let me know in the comments below. More vintage videos every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I'll see you then.